Hello, my name is Jenna Seachman, and I'm here to talk about my product, the Movie Magic Mix. So let me move over to my keynote presentation. Here we go. Okay, so my little tagline is a healthy snack for when you're at the show or on the go. And I'll get to kind of explaining that in a second. So, the consumer environment that my product would step into, one of our textbooks, Food Service Management, found that one of the top trends nowadays among consumers is that they are looking for healthy options um, to supplement their diets, as opposed to the refined sugars and processed foods that we tend to see in convenience stores. And an issue with that, though, is that a study on convenience food in 2014 found that 89.5% of the food offerings on display, specifically advertised to children, just were not that healthy. But they also did find later in that paper that, in general, most of the foods on display were not very healthy options. Um, and so, despite the fact that consumers are preferring healthier options more than before, they are still pursuing convenience more than before. And so, we need products that offer both the convenience and the healthy side of things if I think we're going to succeed in the food industry in the coming years. And for my product specifically, there is a gap in the market for foods that consumers wouldn't just choose when they are deliberately looking for something healthy, like maybe um, at some point they want a healthy snack wherever they're going, or just something that they can have as maybe a healthy meal replacement, but something that they see not only as a healthy option, but something that is so tasteful and enjoyable that they see it as an okay replacement for something unhealthy that they would have eaten. So, in my case, like a Snickers bar or popcorn at the movie theaters, I think we need products that also are viewed so highly that consumers would replace them with these more unhealthy options. And so this is one example of a product succeeding on the market. So this is High Keys, no sugar added mini cookies. I am actually a big fan of these in part because they are advertised by Ryan Reynolds, which I think is a sign in and of itself that this product is doing really well, that they would make enough money to hire Ryan Reynolds to do their advertisements. And so one of their smart marketing strategies as well is that they do talk about how sugar is just not that good for you, and we want something that kind of like my product will provide the indulgence and the convenience without the sacrifice of nutritional value or weighing yourself down with refined sugars. And so this is a little bit more of a market insight. So I found that unit sales of the leading nutritional snack and trail mix vendors were a really good insight into how maybe healthier products are doing successfully in the market. And so this is data from 2020, and it found that the private label trail mix vendors, which are like Woodstock Farms, Flagstone Foods, Happy Belly, and others, they tend to be healthier than the non-private labels, and yet you can see that the private labels are doing a lot better. And my hypothesis was that one of the reasons for this is because they are, in general, but not always, healthier options. And so it would kind of confirm, as of food service management, this trend that we're seeing, that consumers are going for healthier options, and that kind of thanks to advertisements like what you would see in the high key cookies, it's becoming a little bit more obvious and well known that sugar is just not as much of a preference or looked upon as highly as it used to be. And so we have some examples of private labels and the other guys. And so you'll see the private labels, in general, when I found them, they looked healthier and more natural. And the non-private labels, they're not always bad. Like I personally would eat the California medley from Second Nature, and honestly, I am a fan of the treasure hunt for M&Ms in a trail mix, and so not always a bad thing. But I do think in general, the private labels were more natural. But you also kind of see a gap in the market right here because my product would kind of straddle the line between the products that look really appealing but might not be that healthy, and the products that look healthier but might not be register as a sweet treat to someone who, say, wants to go bring a sweet treat to the movies. And so my product kind of would step in between these two things. And so the target population for my product would be adolescents from ages 11 to 19. I think they love snacking. It's very fun. And adolescents, more than anything, I think love to have like a fun snack to accompany them for a lot of things, especially social events. But a lot of these snacks that they would bring in these circumstances are nutrient poor. And so I have a quote here from the Journal of Midwifery and Women's Health about how a lot of adolescent nutrition studies found that healthy foods that taste good are really critical for this stage. They are not as tolerant as adults to maybe eating foods that are healthy, but sacrificing the taste. And so one reason that my product is important for adolescents is because their life stage just has a lot of rapid physical changes. And so we have the doubling of bone mass nearly, and big changes in height, and we have puberty, and all these things that really need proper fuel in order to progress adequately. And yet, in part because adolescents don't always prefer healthy snacks and meals, they face challenges at getting the proper nutrients that they need in order to force these or in order to fortify and help with these big lifestyle changes. And so, five specific nutrients that adolescents need are fiber and iron and folate and vitamin C and calcium. And these are five nutrients that my product will address as well. So, some challenges specifically facing adolescents from getting that nutritional value that they need. Their diets often lack fruits and vegetables, and therefore the minerals and vitamins that you would get from those fruits and vegetables, as well as the dietary fiber from those foods. So, our textbook found one study that I think said at least 20% of high schoolers ate less than one fruit per day. And another study found that when they do eat fruit, they just tend to eat it in the form of orange juice. And so that might get you some vitamins like vitamin C, but it's not going to have any fiber, which is kind of a big deal just because fiber, a paper that I reference in my essay found that dietary fiber is a huge thing that helps prevent certain types of cancer later on. And it also is huge for gut health and promoting a feeling of fullness. And so weight maintenance kind of plays into that, which could even be a big deal for adolescents struggling with like body image issues. And so I found fiber is a big component of my product for that reason. And furthermore, adolescent females can trend towards anemia after getting their periods due to inadequate iron consumption. And yes, we found that another challenge is that adolescents do care so much about taste and convenience that sometimes nutritional value is not always on their radar. And so, coming soon to a theater near you is my product, the Movie Magic Mix, which would kind of capitalize on what I was talking about in terms of offering nutritional value, but not sacrificing the indulgence or convenience or aesthetic quality, even. And so, this is a little bit of a mock-up of my product, specifically the matcha yogurt flavor you can see on the label. And so I'd have two flavors, which would be the matcha yogurt and the chai berry. And so I have my list of ingredients here, which you can see lots of dry fruit, and each one has an ounce of nuts as well, which is one serving. So this is a little bit about product relevance. So as you can see, I have just the ability for a lot of health labels on my product, just because in order to say that your food is high in something, like high in a given nutrient, it needs to have at least 20% of the daily value or above for that nutrient. And so I found that I would be able to say that my products are high in fiber and vitamin C. I think that on my label, my nutrition label, I said that they have 19% of the daily value of fiber, but that was only calculated off of, I think, the figs and the nuts. And there's trace or even pretty good amounts of fiber from all of the dried fruits. So I'm very confident it would have at least 20% of the daily value for fiber. And so even the nutrients that are not high because they're not 20% of the daily value. They are about 10%. And so I would be able to say that my product is a good source of these things. And so here we have where we would get the fiber and iron from my product. So the chai berry gets fiber from figs and almonds and iron from almonds and chocolate. And then the matcha yogurt gets its fiber from figs and walnuts and iron from pistachios. And then you can see I've written approximately how much of the daily value that you would get from each of these. And so the chai berry is going to have folate from papayas and banana chips, and then vitamin C from those dried guavas, which I will admit I've never tried, but that's something I'd be fascinated to try. And then it has calcium from papayas and figs and almonds. And then the chai berry is going to, or the matcha yogurt is going to have folate from walnuts and vitamin C from dried strawberries, which are also very high in vitamin C. And then it's going to have calcium from the dried yogurt and figs and pistachios in there. And then also, you may have noticed the dried guavas have 140% of the daily value for vitamin C. Luckily, because that's not a fat soluble vitamin, that would not be as much of an issue because it cannot be stored to toxic amounts in the body. And so I have some strengths and weaknesses of my product. So some strengths are that my product does appeal to populations looking for those healthy choices without turning away anyone who also wants convenience. And so it's also more nutrient dense than almost any snack out there. Specifically, I found that even among the healthy snacks of like trail mixes and things, my product was higher and more diverse in the nutrients that it offered. So some weaknesses are that my product would be slightly more expensive just because it is very nutrient dense. It's also because it has such a high variety of ingredients, it's a little bit larger. So think like the size almost as a skinny pop, like a bag of skinny pop popcorn. Not quite, but that's kind of a reference for you. And so because of this also, it might be a little bit harder to transport unless you have a purse that's on the larger side. And then another downside is that it is high in fruit sugars due to how much dried fruit is in there. And it might be a deterrent to someone who reads the nutrition label and doesn't necessarily realize that, even though it does not have any added sugars. And so the 5 questions I anticipate, specifically the cost of my product, I costed out at around $4.60. So that's a little bit more than most convenience store options, but I did think that most consumers that are looking for healthy options or just kind of see that stacked up against the nutrition labels of other things that are not as healthy would be willing to sacrifice the extra $1 or $2 to purchase my product. And so the shelf life of my product, I would recommend eating it in about 4 months or no later than 4 months after purchase, just because even though there is nuts and dried fruits in there, which have a long shelf life on their own, there's also chocolate in the chai berry and the yogurt in the matcha yogurt flavor. And so those things, especially since they're going to be very fresh from my product, would not last as long. And where else would people eat this product? So this could be consumed pretty much anywhere that you would bring a trail mix, really. And I'm running out of time. Otherwise, I would go more into that. But it's very versatile. And are there any unhealthy aspects? So the fruit sugars, I would say, would cause me to advise that to be eaten in moderation. Same way I wouldn't really want to do a huge overdose of fruit sugar in general. And then my product could be found in Walmart, ideally, even the little vendors at a play or a theater production. They could sell these to customers, and even movie theater foyers. I would try selling to those. So, again, lots of places it could be sold, even gas stations. And so hopefully that would really cover a lot of bases and give consumers lots of places to find healthy options. And so that is my product, the Movie Magic Mix. And I also have references. And I hope that you have enjoyed my presentation. So, me and my pajama pants, thank you for watching.